Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're going to begin our study today of the book of Lamentations. It has 5 chapters, but it is not very long, only 154 verses. It is shorter both by verse and by word, shorter than Psalm 119. Um, and it is much like Psalm 119 in tone and also in structure. Um, we said when we began our study of the Book of Lamentations that it's not like anything else in human literature. It's so dark. We'd have to think back to 9/11 um, to think of a day that would be comparable in our own consciousness, if you can think back that far. I know it's 24 years ago, and some of you weren't even born then, and some of you can't remember. But if you can, and some of you can think back as far as Pearl Harbor, perhaps. Um, but you'd have to think back to a day. If you could add those together, and then multiply it, it would be like the day when the city that sits on Mount Zion and the temple of God, where the Ark of the Covenant is, and all of God's people are, when that city is destroyed and God's people are brutalized, savagely murdered, and then the remainder hauled into captivity to Babylon. I don't think any of us can imagine an event more cataclysmic to our own personal sense of identity and culture, to what they experienced. And so it describes that, and it describes that in language that is spare, that is itself at times savage and brutal, and yet it is so beautiful. It's like reading Ecclesiastes or reading Psalm 119 or Psalm 137. The language itself is so beautiful that the beauty of the language, I don't mean it's beautiful with frills and frippery and purple prose. I mean it's like a shaker chair is beautiful. I mean it's just spare and perfect. The beauty itself provides light. The beauty itself is the light, and it's this miraculous thing that we only see God able to accomplish with human language. And we see Jesus able to do it. We see it happen in the Bible, where with very spare, simple language, the most profound thoughts and feelings are communicated, not just described, but communicated from one person to another. And that's what happens in the book of Lamentations. It has 5 chapters, and each one of these chapters has 22 verses, except the third chapter, which has 66 verses. And so we can see that this is built around the number 22. And these chapters are naturally, they were added later, the chapter headings, but these are the natural sections. This is one of those places in the Bible where chapter 1 really is its own section. So 22. Why 22? Well, you know this already. There are 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. And for nearly all of this book is an acrostic, form, the same way Psalm 119 is in an acrostic form. So, in chapter 1, verse 1, that begins with Aleph. Verse 2, Beth. Verse 3, Gimel. Verse 4, Daleth. And on through the Hebrew alphabet for 22 verses. And that same thing happens in chapter 2. When you get to chapter 3, however, you have 3 verses. You have 66 verses. So you have 3 Alephs, and then 3 Beths, and then 3 Gimels, and then 3 Daleths. So because it's the middle, 3 is right in the middle of 5, right? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 3 in the middle makes up three acrostics, a triple acrostic, I should say. And then in chapter 4, 22 verses, Aleph, Beth, Gimel, Daleth, on through the alphabet. And then you get to chapter 5 and 22 verses. And guess what? That's not in acrostic form. And the effect that it has is through the not just the vocabulary of language and the meaning of the words, but just with the music of language itself to communicate chaos and desolation. Because the acrostic has provided order throughout the text, but at the end we're not left with any order at all. So that I just love the way it is structured, and of course, since we have um, 5 chapters, each with 22 verses, except for chapter 3, which has 66 verses. How many 22s do we have? We have 7 22s, and 7 is itself one of the most important numbers in the Bible because it is the number of completion. But this is not just despair. In the actual absolute middle of the book, the heart, the eye of the storm, every tornado, every hurricane, I should say, has an eye, and inside the eye there is a place of perfect and absolute calm. And in this book, in the complete center of the book, the middle of the book, we have 22, 22, 66, 22, and 22. In the very middle of the book, we read these words: "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness." It's an amazing effect and an amazing lesson for us to learn, because we think in terms of things being linear, and therefore as difficulties persist, we don't see an end to them. God's mercy isn't at the end of anything. It's at the heart of everything. And that's what Lamentations communicates to us. Well, that's the way it is ordered. It's not like anything else anybody's ever written before or since. And of course, I know I say that. Every time we study something, I say that. And it's always true, because each one of these books of the Bible are just unique gems in their own. And it's not a gemstone that a human has cut. It's like opening a geode that God himself has made and seeing, these beautiful crystals inside that no jeweler could have ever carved on his own. And Lamentations is like that. And so we have order that leads in the end to disorder, but in the heart of everything, and continuing to beat at the heart of everything, is the mercy of God, which is new every morning. Okay, we'll enter the text next time. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.